everybody, back to Not Just Art or Laura's Place of Art. I'm at the moment doing a series of designs based with my parchment Liquitex paints using white and gold, and I thought today I'd come on and do the green one. There is a blue one here. Now, as I've said in a previous video, I actually use a lot of leftover paint. I've got a pet, maybe one of my little things that I actually like to use up loads of paint and get rid of it in various different ways, and usually very abstract backgrounds. So I've got a wash of colours on here, acrylics, and all these little dots on here was actually made with bubble wrap and putting ink onto it and just seeing what it did. Another way of just getting rid of paint because paints are expensive. So last video I did this one, which was just working with the pure it's like a kind of green white base. It's almost like a linen how would you say, a linen green white, and it's something I picked up from Liquitex. I really like the colors of Liquitex, and some gold, and then I've just used it, and I had at the time a vase of tulips, and I just kind of used those. Today I do not have any fresh flowers, so we're going to go from a magazine, so I'm going to take that one out. So eventually, these are just ideas, so we're going to work on this one, which is going to be greens, olive greens and bright greens with the Liquitex. And then this one's probably going to be blue next week. And this is overall the actual big one that I'm going to go on to. Have no idea at this moment in time. We're just letting it work as it goes along. And again, this is just a play on having lots of different colours left. And I've done a lot of brush strokes with using water and acrylics. Also with a little bit, probably some inks coming in here, and again working with the bubble wrap and just doing a background. Not a lover of using black in usually my designs, but there was a lot left over in the palette, so I thought I would take it. So from here we are just going to, I'm just going to put the camera on pause. So I'll just show you what I'm using. Last time I used a pencil, which I don't think anybody could see the pencil mark. So this time round I'm using white pencil. I've just noticed on here that I've actually got a little bit of pink coming through. So although I haven't got pink on my palette, I may end up using, and I've actually going with the acrylic paint Deco Art Americana. Don't use much of this. This was for another little project I was doing. On my palette I've also got Cadence, and this is more of a liquid acrylic. I've also got System 3 leaf green, and also this olive colour, which I love, which is again System 3. System 3 is much thicker paint. They do I think a range of thinner paints, which is like 1, 2 and 3, I think 3 being the thickest. Then I've got Liquitex, which is this iridescent bright gold that I'm using, which I may mix or I may just do onto it. And then I've got the Liquitex parchment, and again, as I said, it's like a linen with a touch of green and white. I'll show you the palette. I've also got a white, sea white acrylic paint, which I would say is probably not as thick as the System 3, but probably more of a 2 in that case. That's my palette. So this is the parchment, this is the acrylic sea white, this is the acrylic more liquid Cadence, and both of these are system 3, and then I've got the gold enhancing or iridescent. With that, I also have water. Yes, you can use water with acrylics if you want to thin them out and also make it spread. So I've got a flat round brush, the small brush, and then I've got most of mine around. I prefer using round brushes. The time when I use flat is if I'm covering a big surface, and it's and sometimes I'll use a paint thick and sometimes I'll use it thin. So I've got various quantities. So I'm just going to draw out. So on here, as I don't have any fresh flowers, I just grabbed a magazine from the local garden centre, and I'm just going to tip that up because I'll probably get rid of that. So what I thought, the types of flowers I probably use are sort of something like pinks, and probably almost like is it more like a trailing asteria? Is it asteria? Trailing garden asteria. They do a whole range of them. I may have that name. Clematis. Sorry, clematis. And with that, I may end up doing another plant that I quite liked. Petunias. So something like a petunia. At this moment in time, I'm not too worried about really what flowers I'm doing, because I'm not doing something specifically that is for a client. I'm doing something that is just showing a technique and having a play. So I always wonder if it's better from the side or it's better from above. Then you see me doing it, it's kind of at your head. But anyway, right, so we're just going to start. The whole idea of art, you work more in odd numbers rather than in even numbers. It's something to do with, I guess, the Fibonacci technique a long time ago, where 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 is what appears all the time in art. So we are going to look at maybe doing 3. Maybe I'll look at 3 different ones. I'll just start drawing and then see where I go to. So I'm just going to, I started off with a line here just to make sure this white pencil, that you could actually see the white pencil. Sometimes I have the flowers coming off because I do mirror flip repeats. Sometimes I do it as a whole drop, half drop, in terms of repeating if I'm going into design. So I'll just start now, and I'm just bringing it in. So so I'm what's known as a kind of very quick drawer. I don't like to spend too much time unless I'm really focusing on something that is for a client. So I try and get drawing down really quickly. Sometimes I plan, sometimes I don't. What is actually happening, I don't mind things being very uneven. So here I'm kind of going with kind of the clematis idea. So I've got one of those going on. Then I'm just going to, because I still like the background, so I'm not looking for anything that's going to cover too much of the background. I'm probably not bringing stems into this one. So then we're looking at, and I might do it over, to me it's going more in this direction, so that is kind of left maybe plain. So I'm now just going to kind of like the petunia. And it's okay if flowers, always kind of think where your center is, and if flowers are coming in or under or over. So again, very thick. I'm just going to put a few lines in because that's a little bit of a gradient going on in there. So it's a play on colour actually, gradient colours, although I'm not doing gradient colours and I'm certainly not following the colour what I've got here. So, right, okay. So I'm what's known as really a floral designer. I do mainly florals. I don't do kind of picturesque ideas, but I do end up doing ideas for wallpapers, carpets, fabric for interiors, and really anything that's surface. It could end up on cards, can end up on wrapping paper, but it's just a really nice, it's relaxing. It's relaxing. So I teach this as well, and it's certainly, I'm going to put in a few little tiny, these little kind of daisy things I see in front of me. Not very tiny. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to do another one round here. There's one of these kind of little daisy things. I'm not even counting the petals on each one. I think they're usually odd, usually. So there we go. That is the design. Very easy. Okay. Right, so now to paint. So, because I'm not doing it true to form, this is where I just start making it up. So let's start to paint. So sometimes I mix the colours, sometimes I don't. It just depends. So I usually will start off with putting the paintbrushes in water. What I'm going to say is don't leave them in the water. I've also got a wet wipe here. Don't leave them in water because brushes tend to bend at the bottoms, and once they bend you can't get them back. So I'm just going to put those there. So I'm going to go in with the bigger brush, and as I'm doing underneath and it's a bit of a shadow, I'm just going to, I don't always tend to mix as I on the palette, but today I'm just going to mix, and I'm going to put a little bit of this iridescent golden, which is lovely. So I don't know if you can see that. So I've been mixing. I usually mix while I'm doing it because I don't like different colours coming in, but let's just start with that. By the way, I'm on a paper plate. Nothing, I'm not on a, sometimes I will go onto a ceramic plate, but something's easy. So I'm just going to go under here. Let's start. I'll take some of that colour, go in more. So the idea is that there is a little bit of darkness around that area there. And be a little bit more abstract. So definitely a play on colour. So I've just added in a touch of white. And now I'm going to do the petals. And I'm going to do very light. So a little bit of green and white together. I'm not doing the whole leaf, I'm just letting the brush flow. Don't know if you caught that. So only a little bit in there, and then we'll do the next one again. And this is where not every petal needs to be the same, but the technique. So now that to do that, it's really a play on the wrist and how you execute your paint and flicking. A little bit of flicking going on. Just going to bring a bit of white so it's not so flat. I'm going to go in here with a little bit of darker colour. As I've looked at flowers for a long time, notice on my palette I don't even have a blue on there to make it darker. Totally forgot about that. So I'm just going with what I'm using, the colour itself. And then we're going to go in with a little bit of this parchment. And parchment's almost like the white, but it's paler. So just going to go back in. So often I will start and then I'll just go over the top, because as I blend in as I go along. And my fingers come into it as well sometimes, which is what I'm doing now. So let's just go in a bit more. So certainly turning it around. And parchment. So I know there's probably a lot of rules in painting. I don't follow them. I think when you start to paint, because my general idea is I started these YouTube videos for people who were lacking in confidence in themselves in painting and just having a go. I kind of throw everything outside the box. I don't follow tradition. Now, if I was doing a fine art piece, that would be a different case. I would follow the techniques. But for this purpose, I'm really not following any particular technique that I need to. And when you're a designer, I mean, I trained to be a designer. I worked my way in industry and then went back to university. Didn't need to. I did it in order to teach, actually. But and you take on board. So my love is surface design, and I love printing. Printing is one of my favourite things to do. It's a lot of prep for a very little bit of work, but you can keep going and going and going. Just brought in that lighter green. Dye it down with a bit of gold. So I do try and look for something different, to do, and I think the mood is inspired by the background, and once you get used to actually doing painting, making sure I'm not rounding my, you just keep going, you try things out, you don't get things perfect all the time. So these are just ideas, but they're nice ideas, and they're ideas that anybody can do. The brush is getting very thick at the moment with paint, so it's quite textured. Just going to come back in with a little bit of that colour. What I'm doing, I'm going to rewash because I've kind of lost that lovely roundness going on there, so I'm just rewashing the brush because I had a bit too much on there, and that's what happens when you just keep dipping and dipping and dipping into, let me see, into paint. See if I can get that. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Okay. Right, so I'm going to leave that one. That's quite a nice idea. I might bring in the pink and do a bit of pink with this parchment colour, because it's got that little bit of pink coming in there. Let's hopefully that mixes properly. So ooh, it's very baby pink, or like pastel pink. So pastel pink. So now let's see, do I want to use that one? Let's see what happens with this brush. So I've paled it down even more with the parchment pink, white acrylic and the linen parchment. I get in a bit of pure white. Let's go in with a touch more darker pink on the bottom. Okay. So we are getting there. Let's do another one. So this is what I mean by not blending, blending as you're going along. And I just work with what I've got on the paintbrush. Probably do with a darker pink at this moment in time. I don't want to stick it in green. Combination of white and the parchment colour. There's not a lot of difference. I am leaving space between just to see the background. Bringing in a touch of gold on this one. Just maybe like a reflection off of that other one that's at the side. And then a little bit of white. And then we're going in with pink. So I've got 7 petals on this, and I've just crowded out that other one. So trying to leave texture rather than really letting it all sink in. And again, my brush is quite loaded at the moment with, oops, just lost that line. Not going back in because I haven't got a thin enough nail to get there. So again, by the way, it's important to have something down. So this time around I put a tablecloth down. I hope it doesn't reflect from the actual what I'm doing, but oh, I'll make a nice mess of that one. Right, okay. So there we go, we've got pink going on. Just a little bit of pink. I'm going to clear my brush. Bring that other one out. Okay. So now I'm going to go in for that bright green. Gone back to, I'm going to use my round brush for that. So it's really important with acrylic paints that you make sure your brushes are really clean. So after this, make sure you clean them out really well, because if you leave any acrylic in them, it will ruin them. So going with that colour. So really kind of my base colours are like the olive green and then the pink, and then I've just added colours to it. So again, and each colour acts in a different way. So I can tell with this one, this is like, feels like a totally different texture I'm using. It may be because maybe I've got a bit too much water going on the brush, but I'm just doing it very quickly. Let's see where that line is. Okay. So as you see, I've painted all the this one in green before I've added in any blend. And the reason I've done that is because this is quite a vibrant colour. I'd probably do with a little bit of blue in it, but I haven't got the blue at hand. So now we're going to go in with the parchment, which has probably got a little bit of pink in it. Yeah, as I thought. So it's kind of reflecting off. And I've also got obviously the pink that's on there from before. So I'm really kind of just dulling this down because it's quite a bright green. So with that, I am going to then, so I'm twisting my brush, trying to get rid of some of that pink, so I'm getting more into the gold. I'm twisting it off. I don't know where I learned that habit. I probably watched somebody, just to get, so I'm just trying to make sure you can see this, and then I'm bringing the gold in. So I can do the other one. So sometimes I have a plan how this is going to work, and sometimes I don't. And today I did have a plan, but it's gone out the window. It's worked for this. That's a nice flower, actually. Maybe because I kind of just did my own thing on these ones. And just, although I did follow flower. So if I was looking at a design, I could scan this or take a photo, put it into the program, either Photoshop, or I work a lot actually with PowerPoint. and cut it out and then place it all over the place, so you've got all this rich, and then change the colours, because that's actually quite a nice flower that I've done there. Turn that around. Too much on the brush, so I'm going to just wrap that. Not too bad, not too bad. As I say, it's just all ideas, because when I start the main big one, I want to know what I'm doing. So I'll come back to that one. I'm now just going to take the parchment the yellow, so with white, that's too thick, now I'm just going to come up on here, probably should be using a smaller brush, I've decided. But I don't want overly smooth the way I'm doing smooth. Got these little coming together, and now I'm going to use the gold. Just get some of that off. Use more of the gold to do this one. And go on with the white. Just smeared it. Just smeared it. Okay. So I think these little, almost like little, oh gosh, what are they? It's like little, what I call rockery flowers are great to do. I love these little tiny fill-in, like a fill-in flower. And that is nearly it. That is nearly it. Put it back into there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the olive green for the middle. And put in, there we go. And the same on the other one. So that's a corner design. I've got a few more touchings up to do on that side, which I will come back to, but generally that is the design. Let me just grab in some, got a lot going on that background, and then I'm going to see, I'm going to take a smaller brush and then go in with a do this without it going everywhere. So then bring up streaks of that colour. So this one's not quite finished yet. Streaks of that colour coming through. But maybe not, maybe, yeah, no, it's not working. So you know instantly when something is working, when it's not working. I like the colour, but maybe just doing the streaks. Also, I've got a lot on that paintbrush. Okay, I'm going to stop it there where I can fix it. And those are that is that for today. Have a really good Sunday, everyone, and enjoy. Bye for now.